It did not matter if some people were saying tialala and others were saying bottom up. If they did not address certain economic and social fundamentals, the country was in the throes of a potential revolution. And we have seen signs of that.
Okay.
And now we have gone into a lull. And within that lull, those who are saying tialala, tibim, and those who are saying bottom up have groped towards one another, and they have found each other, and they are just in the perfect place that they need to be in before the Gen Zs, the millennials, and other would-be revolutionaries will accost them collectively and push them to the Indian Ocean.
Thank you so much. Today we are with BARRACK MULUKA, person that I look up to, and he's a political analyst. We want to talk to him, get to know the state of the country. What are we anticipating? What will happen after, we've seen the broad-based government, are we anticipating probably there will be coalitions ahead of 2027? We are yet to know, but let's have a conversation with BARRACK MULUKA. BARRACK, asante sana, umetukaribisha nyumbani Mazingira Matamu.
Asante sana, karibuni. Na mjihisi kwamba mko nyumbani.
Asante.
Hapa ni Emanyuria. Najua kuna watu ambao sikia nikisema Emanyuria wanafikiri kwamba Emanyuria ni mahali pa kubuniwa tu, vile Ustadh Shaban bin Robert alibuni nchi ya kusadikika na nchi ya kufikirika. Lakini hapa sipo mahali ambapo pamebuniwa tu. Ni mahali hasa palipoko, panaitwa Emanyuria Ingo.
Emanyuria.
Karibuni sana.
Asante sana. Since that time, I think it's been 2 years.
Yes.
Umesoma vitabu ngapi? Because niliona library ilikuwa imejaa picha. And I was like wondering, oh my God. Like umekula hizo vitabu zote?
Ninajaribu.
What?
Ninajaribu, na ubaya ni kwamba kila ninapojaribu vingine vipya vinaongezeka. Na vinavyoongezeka nayo pia changamoto ya kusoma inaongezeka. Kwa hivyo basi nitaendelea kujaribu tu kujizatiti niwezavyo, lakini ni kazi endelevu. Sio kazi ambayo mtu ataimaliza au kuikamilisha.
Approximately in a year, how many books do you read?
Hata siwezi kujua kusema tu ukweli.
Really?
Kwa sababu kama wakati huu tunapozungumza ninasoma karibu vitabu 4-5 kwa wakati mmoja, na vitapeana vijiti kwa vitabu vinginevyo, na ni kitu ambacho kinaendelea kila wakati. Kwa hivyo tuseme tu unapoitwa msomi, basi uwe mtu ambaye unaendelea kusoma. Usiitwe msomi ukasema kwamba umesoma, umekamilika, eti sasa wewe umeshaundwa katika muundo wa msomi na umesoma, umeweza kutimiza. Hapana, wanavyosema Waswahili kwamba hujazikwa hujaumbika. Kwa hivyo endelea tu. Bado hujaumbika, nami sijaumbika. Naendelea kuumbika kila siku.
Wow. Is that the reason as to why umeamua kujenga library hapa nyumbani?
Ni muhimu sana, na hivi vitabu ndivyo vitakavyokuwa kumbukumbu yangu kwamba katika wakati fulani, katika nyakati fulani, kulikuwepo mmoja aliitwa Barrack na maktaba yake ndio hii hapa hivi. Sasa watu watakuwa wakija huku, na bila shaka nyakati hizo nafikiria wajukuu wangu watakuwa wanawatoza ushuru fulani kuweza kufika hapo na kusoma na kuona vitabu vyangu tangu nilipokuwa katika shule ya upili. Vimehifadhiwa vizuri tu, vile ambavyo nilitumia kwa kuandika, zote nimezihifadhi. Makaratasi yangu ya mitihani vyote vipo tu, na watu wataviona katika enzi zingine zijazo.
Katika kusoma vitabu, najua umesoma vitabu vya authors wengi sana, lakini wewe mwenyewe kuna vitabu ambavyo umeandika labda vingapi?
Vingi tu, sasa vinaweza kuwa zaidi ya 10, 12 hivi au 15. Ni vingi tu. Nimeandika vya watoto, hadithi kwa watoto, nimeandika riwaya, nimeandika vitabu vya social science, vipo na ni vingi tu. Na ukiangalia hiyo, ukienda kwa website yangu hapo, hiyo www.barrackmuluka.co.ke, utakutana na baadhi ya vile vitu ambavyo nimeviandika, vitabu. Utapata hapo insha za aina mbalimbali ambazo nimezitunga. Utapata hapo uchanganuzi wangu wa masuala fulani ya kitaifa, ya kijamii, ya kiulimwengu, kwa sababu sasa nimeweza kuwa katika huu uwanja kwa muda usopungua miaka 40 hivi. Kwa hivyo ni vitu vingi ambavyo nimeweza kuchangia kwa kiasi.
We have the broad-based government. Probably what will be your take on the broad-based government?
I'm a doctor of philosophy in politics and international relations, University of Leicester in the United Kingdom. I've also studied at the University of Nairobi at graduate and undergraduate levels in both fields. Therefore, I'm a political scientist, a doctor of philosophy. What we do when you are in those ranks is to have an honest interaction with political, social, and economic dynamics. And you are able to do a prognosis of things to come from where you are. And you're able to tell people things that are fairly accurate, everything being held constant. You can say that if we were talking about statistics, we would be in the area of predictive statistics, that you are dealing with data, and you look at that data, you assess it, you analyze it, and you are able to make fairly accurate predictions, if you want, of what is likely to happen. At the time that you speak of 2 years ago, we talked about the electioneering that was going on in the country at that time. And my take was that William Ruto, who was then the deputy president, was likely to win. But I also thought that the victory would be fairly marginal, and which went on to be like that. You also recall that we talked about revolutionary uprisings,
Yes.
that they were not paying attention to the youth. We specifically talked about the youth, and saw the possibility that the country was running into the headwinds of a youthful uprising. If questions of employment, questions of generation of wealth, questions of redistribution of wealth and redistribution of opportunities were not addressed. And we have seen all that beginning to happen. We've gone into a lull, and this lull is at once caused by the comings together of ODM and with Kenya Kwanza, and at the same time it's the cause of that coming together of those entities. Where are we, and what scenarios are we seeing going forth? We are at a place where the President, William Ruto, is talking of something that he calls a broad-based government. And he's talking about unity and unifying the country and giving what he calls all communities opportunities to be part of what he's calling a big cake that he has baked. Stripped to the basics, and realistically and sincerely speaking, what we are seeing is a conspiracy of the political elite in the country, that these people belong to a membership club, an elite political club, and it is an elite political club that has jeopardized the welfare of the majority now being a youthful population. The population architecture of Kenya today is such that about 75% of the population is aged about 40 and below. If we were to take a census, we probably would find it's about 80%. If you have the present and future of that kind of demographic in uncertain spaces, then the country sits very badly. We don't even know where the education of the country is today. We don't know where this thing called CBC is going, where it's taking the country. Nobody knows. That's why at some point you find the president trying to be at once the president, the minister for education, the permanent secretary or principal secretary, the director of education, and he will do town hall meetings with all these appointed officers seated in the terraces, and he's the one who is wrestling with the questions because nobody knows where education is. Nobody knows where education in Kenya is going. We don't know where the people we say we are training are going. We don't even know whether they are going to be recognized internationally. The teachers who should be training them are unhappy because they are being treated like trash. The government of the day does not care about them. We're in a space where the president is gallivanting across the country, from one end of the country to the other, from pillar to post and post to pillar again, talking about unity that can only be called the conspiracy of the elite, because unity is as good as the purpose for which people unite. If we unite so that we can go to raid a bank, then that is bad unity. And it's the kind of unity that we are seeing between ODM and Kenya Kwanza, which they have refused to formalize, to make official, so that ODM is concurrently in government and in the opposition. So, President William Ruto and Raila Odinga, former Prime Minister, are in space where they are threatened by the revolutionary rumblings among the youth whose future looks uncertain. And they are saying, gentlemen, look, let us come together before these young people sweep us away. They have repositioned the argument and the discourse from what the youth had put on the table. The youth were talking about theft by servants, theft by people in high places in government, otherwise deodorized as corruption. The youth were talking about wastage in government, the splurging of wealth. They were talking about and against opulence by these public servants. Now go and look at the cars that have been released. If you have seen this gallivanting of President William Ruto, you have seen the amazing brand new Guzzlers that have been brought and bought for the national official elite, a country that is broke. The president himself is splurging billions of shillings on what is essentially a campaign tour across the country. And he seems to have recovered from the initial shocks of the Gen Z uprising. He has started his Vasco da Gama missions across the world. As we speak, he should be in China or somewhere near China, and he'll be going, I don't know where to next. Then we have also set aside billions of shillings that we are going to be using to campaign for Raila Odinga to become the chairperson of the Africa Union Commission. Never mind that the indices would suggest that it is an uphill task. I wish him well. If he gets it, he gets it. But it looks like an uphill task. And we are splurging billions of shillings on that. The teachers...
Why would you say it's an uphill task for him?
Again, I say that I work in political science. I work with data. I work with statistics. And I work with within the context of realism. Historical trends indicate that there have been 4 secretaries general. 4 secretaries general.
As a political scientist, you said you go with data. So why would you say that Raila Odinga probably might not be able to be another AUC?
I've said it's an uphill task, which is perhaps a coded way of saying that he will not get it or is unlikely to get it. Look, historical trends in a context where we have had 4 secretaries general show that we had Secretary General from Gabon, from Mali. We have had one from Chad. And there are certain commonalities. Of course, there was Dlamini Zuma Nkosazana of South Africa. Yeah, but the others, Jinping, Moussa Traore, and Mahamat Moussa, they have been from Francophone Islamic countries. That's very important. The League of Islamic countries in Africa has about 27 member states. They have, of course, already endorsed Mr. Mahmoud Yusuf of Djibouti. And Djibouti is itself a member of that entity of Francophonic and Islamic states. When you put them together and you do your matrices and you do your sets and logic and look at the Venn diagrams closely, you look at the intersections, you see that he starts off with about 36 of the countries, the AU member states. And I think that the pass mark is about 34 countries. That puts us in a difficult place, and I'm saying us, so that Mr. Odinga does not imagine that I've distanced myself from him. Incidentally, he's my friend. But when you are my friend, I owe you the truth. And the truth is that it's an uphill task. Francophone Africa, from independence to where we are, tends to go by what Paris wants. And Paris always wants the Francophone nation in the world to look at itself as one community. It's a very old philosophy of theirs that goes right back to the imperial days when Europe was going abroad establishing colonies. The French did not believe they were establishing colonies. They believed that they were establishing France of other waters, la France de l'autre mer, France of other seas and other oceans. And that's why they talked about assimilation, and they looked at the people in those countries as French men and French women, if they realized certain standards of living. That's why people like Felix Houphouët-Boigny and Leopold Senghor from Ivory Coast and Senegal, respectively, were deputies, which is to say members of parliament in the French parliament, and they participated in debates in parliament in Paris. So those people look at themselves as one French nation, and that one French nation in the past has voted in a given way, and that's why you have had 3 out of 4 secretaries general being from that fraternity. It's very unlikely that they are going to change again. Forget about the diplo-speak, which is the diplomatic language that people speak at times such as this. When you ask Algeria, will you vote for us? And they might say, we don't see any good reason why we should not vote for you. Okay, that doesn't mean that they will not be looking for a good reason, or that they will refuse to vote for you because there was a good reason. Even a bad reason is good enough for their purpose. So that is number one. Number two, within the East African region, where we are hoping that the East African states will be voting for our man, we have managed our diplomacy with haughtiness, with a lot of arrogance. Our president arrives, he's the newest boy on the block, and he's behaving as if he's the most intelligent person a woman ever produced in this world. He's giving lectures to his seniors who have been there for donkey years, some of them for close to 4 decades, and they're looking at him. They're saying, look at this one, he thinks he's very clever. Then he projects that profile to the continent, behaving like the wisest of the people in this club of African leaders. And they're waiting for an opportunity to bring you down. If you are thinking that you are the blue-eyed boy of the American White House, who sits sometimes in the presidential chair in the Oval Office in the White House, you wait until we get to the Africa Hall in Addis Ababa. We are going to show you what the truth of the matter is. So we have managed our international relations very poorly. And it's basically because we do not use the career diplomats who sit in those spaces. The first thing that this government called Kenya Kwanza did, the first day that it got into power, was to make a diplomatic goof when they went out of their way for no good purpose to get entangled in the Sahrawi Republic diplomatic and political tussle between Sahrawi Republic and Morocco, which contestation has been there for close to 5 decades. When Spain left Spanish Sahara, and we had Mauritania, Algeria, and Morocco, each claiming that that was their territory because of the rich oil and gas repositories. And Algeria and Mauritania eventually dropped their claim, provided that the Sahrawi Republic of Spanish Sahara would become independent, and they lifted their hands off. But Morocco maintained that this is part of Morocco. Yeah? And without even reminding ourselves that there was a time when Morocco pulled out of the defunct Organization of African Unity, or AU, because of that contestation. Day one, President Ruto himself, having just brought down the Bible to say, "And so help me God," he does not even wait for God to start helping him. He jumps straight into the fray. And people are not happy about that. Then we have this conflict in Palestine, in Gaza. The Israelis are moving in, they are mowing people, they are murdering human beings in their thousands. And before we know what is happening, President Ruto has gone out there to say, "We support Israel." And what are you thinking about those African countries in the Maghreb? What do they make of those kinds of impulsive pronouncements? Then you're coming to them, you are telling them that you want your person to be the CEO of the African Union Commission. When the African Union Commission goes to places or leads the AU to places where the rest of the international community is, and they are supposed to be making decisions, yeah, and AU is consulting, how do they expect to consult and reach a universal consensus that is rational when in the chair is someone from this country that is erratic, with a president who keeps on making pronouncements of international magnitude on international affairs without consulting, only to find himself retreating? We have been cavorting around with Benjamin Netanyahu under President Uhuru Kenyatta, and now under President William Ruto. I agree that we need to create space for younger people to lead, but younger people must also work with older people who are more seasoned, who have got their international global memory, institutional memory, that can tell you that this path which you're about to take, these are the implications. In the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Diaspora Affairs, who don't know what they are doing. And so it is an uphill task for Raila Odinga. They are going to need to work with the diplomats, people who understand international relations, people who have read someone called Morgan Theu. Yeah, Morgan Theu is the father of diplomacy. Yeah? He wrote a book called Politics Among Nations. They need people with the mind of someone like Dr. Henry Kissinger, people of the caliber of Condoleezza Rice, not people who are involved with village politics and who occupy positions because they are co-villagers, and the man at the very top thinks that he must have co-villagers. They're going to lead him into dire straits.
So if I heard correctly, is because of the pronouncement that William Ruto has been making. That means that if Raila Odinga probably went alone, probably did not come close or shake hands, as they always say, handshakes. If they didn't shake hands with William Ruto, was he in a position, a very good place to maybe get that, or because many of the French-speaking countries will still be, a disadvantage to him?
That was not an option, because he would then be a stranger in that forum. Remember that the voters are going to be African heads of state and government, and they would be asking, whose project are you? Yeah. For example, we have got a former foreign affairs minister of Madagascar, who is taking himself into that space, and without a doubt he's going to perform very dismally. He might not even make it to the final ballot paper, because who is taking him there? Yeah?
You need to be someone's project.
His government is not taking him there. Your government must own you and say, we are the ones who are sponsoring this candidate. And that's what President Ruto was doing the other day when he brought in a number of African or East African regional notables, and he unveiled Raila Odinga as the Kenya government's candidate. So, kwa vyovyote vile, it was obligatory that Raila Odinga must close ranks with William Ruto in order then even for state resources to be mobilized for the shuttle diplomacy that has just begun. In a sense, it began a bit before even this unveiling, to unveil and release and second people to what I want to believe is the Raila Odinga AUC Chair Campaign Secretariat. I do hope that they have put in place one, and that there's a structured secretariat that is thinking through all these processes and thinking through all these challenges, because you are not just going to hope that you will go on TV and do this debate, and that African heads of state and government will be watching, and then they'll say, okay, this looks like a good man, he's been around. No. Morgan Theu has told us that this diplomacy is about national self-interest. And what are the interests of these various states? And how do they see you as being aligned with their interests? What is the trust quotient that they have in you, and therefore they are willing to come along with you? We expect people to be going to Tripoli, to be going to Tunis, to be going to Algiers, to be going to Rabat, and to be going to so many other places to correct the equation about Gaza, for example. We expect people to go to DRC to talk to President Tshisekedi and to mend fences. The president himself said bad things about DRC, not just about how the gentlemen there wear trousers that come all the way above the abdomen, but about their lack of what can be called an economy. There is a member of the cabinet who described the president of Rwanda as a dictator, My goodness, the goofs and gaffes in this government. A minister calling the president of a friendly African government a dictator. Why can't he keep that in the private spaces in his mind and have it as his private philosophy that president this and that is a dictator? So the moment of truth has come. President Museveni was in Nairobi a few days ago, and having said so many positive things about Mr. Odinga, and just before he goes to sit down, he says there are some clueless people around Odinga, people who don't know what they are doing, naive people who are cavorting with the adversaries of the NRM government in Uganda, and we are not happy about them. There are people like Babu Owino. Yeah? I'm not happy with the things that they are doing. Naive people around Raila Odinga. He repeated that. President Museveni was not talking to Babu Owino. President Museveni was talking to Raila Odinga. When he said that I'm a consumer of intelligence, there's no intelligence that's required in telling that Babu Owino has been cavorting with Bobi Wine, who is Yoweri Museveni's reigning nemesis. That one, you don't need intelligence services to inform you that Babu Owino and Bobi Wine are cavorting, and they are saying uncomplimentary things about your government. They are doing that in public. Everyone can see. So when President Museveni talks about himself as a consumer of intelligence, he's basically saying that there are other people who we know from our intelligence services who are behind Babu Owino and others like him, who are undermining the National Resistance Movement government in Uganda, and we are not happy. So he's telling Raila Odinga, unataka kura yetu, na wewe hawa ni mbwa wako, wewe ndio unawatuma kubweka huko. Intelligence services zinatuonyesha kwamba these boys are not self-sponsored dogs in the ring, that these barking dogs have got their own owner, master and handler, and that it is you. See you in the Africa Hall in Addis Ababa in February next year. That's what he was saying.
So by any chance, if I heard you correctly,
will it be that Raila Odinga is in, his purported handshake? Okay, handshake. I don't want to say purported because they actually there's a handshake.
Well, they shook hands before President Museveni, Samia Suluhu,
I know, right?
Salva Kiir.
I know.
They shook hands, did they not?
They did.
Wow.
But again now, okay, the handshake. Is it because it's because of his own interests or Kenyan's interest? Because again, if you get to hear what is being said after that, and of course now formation of the broad-based government, they're saying is because of the interest of Kenyans. But now when you're talking about, he had to because of the AUC, chair, then it means like he went for his own interest and not Kenyans per se.
The political top brass in Africa is about itself. It's never about the peoples of Africa. It's about itself. The people are cannon fodder. They are gunpowder that can be used in moments of extreme disagreement. The political class will deploy the people. They will deploy. Raila Odinga will take the youth into the streets of Nairobi, Homa Bay, Kisumu, and Mombasa. And after a certain body count, and William Ruto is getting concerned, or Mwai Kibaki, Daniel Arap Moi, Uhuru Kenyatta, they will come and talk and say, okay, so let us redistribute. One of the things that Odinga was talking about 2023 was inclusivity. What kind of inclusivity was that he was talking about? We have gone out, we have contested, you have lost, we have won. You want inclusivity. What do you mean by inclusivity? What inclusion? So it's about the gravy train. The gravy train is about public finance, it's about public procurement, and it's about public audit. Public finance, in the sense that these days in my country we budget for corruption. Budget a certain amount of money for a certain project which never takes place. You have seen Morara is going all over the country and is telling you this project was launched, this one was launched, this one was launched. And so many years later, nothing has happened. Yeah. He's also telling us, and with the statistics that are believable from government entities, and particularly from the Auditor General's office, that so much money has been spent, and that money is in billions, some of it hundreds of billions of Kenya shillings. Now that is what this institution called government in this country is about. It's about raiding the treasury. And so inclusivity is about having us also in those spaces, so that we have our own men and women in government, and they're going to allocate some of those opportunities to it, to loot to us. Where have you seen a country in the world where we are being told our debt is 11, 12 trillion Kenya shillings, and the debt portfolio is unknown? If you say publish it, let us see what that money is about. Let us see when it was borrowed. Let us see when it came in. Let us see how we have been repaying. And let us see
how we even spend the money.
How we spent the money. Yeah? And then finally, let us see what the bottom line is today. We are not being told that. We are being told, oh, we owe so much, or we were about to default, or we survived, we did not default, or you have done a good thing to pay taxes.
Accumulated.
We are Animal Farm, where we just hear statistics, memorandum, minutes, and we don't understand what is happening. And like the sheep in Animal Farm, George Orwell's Animal Farm, we have become sheeple. We are no longer people, we are sheeple. And the sheeple will clap when they hear that these people are coming, they see a chopper coming. Instead of knowing this is our money being splurged, being wasted, this chopper that is landing, we run to go and get mesmerized. We look at it and we wonder whether these are real people or they are men from Mars. If perchance they should shake our hand, we feel like we will not wash that hand for a week or 2 or 3, without realizing that we are dealing with thieves. A thief is a thief is a thief. Even when he wears a 3-piece suit with a 4th piece in the pocket, he's still a thief. Even when he comes with a fleet of immaculate vehicles, he's a thief. And Kenyan people need to wake up the Gen Zs have woken up, and that's why they are leading with the clarion call that they want change. And the rest of the country must join them. But the Gen Zs must also take a few lessons from history. They must know, for example, that you cannot ring fence a revolution and tell people that you do not come into this space, this is our revolution. Yeah, if you start creating those kinds of demographic distinctions and say this is our revolution, Vio, don't come here because you have not been doing anything.
Because you're a baby boomer.
Oh, way.
Or a millennial.
Yeah, you see, I'm a baby boomer. What the Gen Zs do not know is that we started this struggle long before them. And that's why even at this age I'm still able to speak the way I speak, because I have believed in something and I still believe in that something. And the Gen Zs are only joining me in that space where I believe in this thing. It's just that now we have got a critical mass. Yeah? Or in the 80s, when I was a student at the University of Nairobi, no, it was the only university, and I was there. Yeah?
In 80s. Okay.
It was the university, get that?
Yeah.
And I was there.
And you were there.
Yes.
Okay.
We had unending run-ins with the government because of corruption, because of misrule, because of splurging of national resources by the political class. And the country sometimes needs to remember that tragic day in 1982 when the young people of this country took over government for a few hours. And we were university students. Yeah? About 10 or so hours. And my student leader, Titus Adungosi, God rest his soul in eternal peace, joined those who went to Broadcasting House and said, we have taken over. So this was...
was it sort of a coup or what?
It was a coup. We took over for a few hours. The Gen Zs took over parliament for a few hours. We took government.
whatever has happened right now this year is not like something new. It's actually happened initially.
We took government for a few hours. Taking of government is not a good thing as such. It is often prisoners. Yeah, it's not anything you want to be proud of. But we must remind ourselves that these things have happened before, and because you have a knowledge gap, yeah, you have a knowledge gap that does not inform you that these things happened before by younger people. Young people were killed. Young people were killed.
In 1980 what?
82.
1982. Oh.
Yes. I was a third-year student at the University of Nairobi.
Wow.
And we were consigned to our villages. I came back to this village and I was reporting to the chief twice a week.
Oh my God.
Things have happened. Yeah,
but again, okay.
Kumbe mlifanya maneno. I didn't know that.
That we took over for a few hours.
Yeah, you said for 10 hours?
Yeah, and the morning.
Where's the president at that time?
I was holed up in some maybe farm plantation in Nakuru.
What had happened that, I mean, like...
You know, there were bad things happening in the country. Moi had taken over in 1978 when I was in Form 6. Yeah. Kenyatta died in August 1978. and Daniel Arap Moi took over. And Moi was quite shaky. Even his voice was tremulous. He spoke with absence of confidence. And it looked like he needed to be strengthened, to be reassured that he was the president and that he would rule. There were people who were calling him a passing cloud in the open. But there were also people who were urging him on, telling him, kalia kiti kamili. Then President Moi started sitting in that seat properly. And those people started telling him things like, you are philosopher number one, you are farmer number one, you are teacher number one, you are everything good number one. They composed songs of praise. On the Voice of Kenya, there are songs that were called Nyimbo za Sifa. And people would even sing songs like, ndege wa angani wataimba sifa zako, Baba Moi, mlezi wa wana. Oh, Baba Moi, Baba Moi, mlezi wa wana. Tukilala tunaota na amani kutuja, kwa sababu ya uongozi wa Rais Moi. Tawala Kenya, tawala.
Yeah, that one I heard.
Tawala Kenya. Unasikia? Vitu vya unaongoza vema.
Oh my God.
Those things eventually went on to President Moi's head. He actually got to believe that he was farmer number one, philosopher number one, teacher number one, everything good number one. And it can only be expected. He would ask himself, if I was not number one in all these things, how come I ascended to the highest office in the land? Nilipita hawa watu wote namna gani, nikakuja nikafika huu upeo wa juu zaidi kama mimi kweli sio number one. And he had a stick called Fimbo ya Nyayo. Fimbo ya Nyayo, Fimbo ya Nyayo, yatuongoza kwenda wapi? Fimbo ya Nyayo, yatuongoza kwenda mbele. Now, President Moi started cracking that Fimbo ya Nyayo on dissenting heads. Ukisema tu kitu hivi kidogo, tap, kichwa unagongwa. Fimbo ya Nyayo inakugonga. Sasa tukiwa hapo katika chuo kikuu, tunaamka kila Friday. Government gazette inatoka. Friday, Mutunga detained. Huyu Mutunga huyu.
William Tunga.
Huyu.
The pharmacy.
Tunaamka asubuhi tunasoma Haminwa detained. Huyu Haminwa tu huyu mnaona hapa. Tunaamka tunasoma Muridhi detained. Unaamka unasoma Mukaru Nganga detained. So the country started getting very restive. And then KANU was also becoming very dictatorial. It was the only party. They went ahead and made it a one-party state by introducing Section 2A. And things moved steadily from bad to worse. There was no freedom of expression. People were being rounded up, taken to Nyayo House, being thrown. You know, one of the things that puzzled us at that time was that there appeared to be very many suicides happening from Nyayo House. At watu walikuwa naenda tu wanapanda huko Nyayo House, wanaruka chini, wanakufa. And we were wondering, why are people committing suicide from Nyayo House? Kumbe hao ni watu walikuwa wanashikwa, wanakuwa abducted. Vile tu unaona siku hizi watu wanaanza kuwa abducted. Kuna mtu anafuata nyayo Kenya hii. and they take them up there and they kill them and then they throw them down. I say how wamekufa. So watu wakaanza kuwa na hiyo dissatisfaction as the university community and particularly student population. Tukawa tumefungiwa sana uhuru wa usomi, uhuru wa mawazo, na hata wakaja na kitu kingine wakasema kwamba they were going to introduce National Youth Service before watu waende kwa chuo kikuu. And although we were already there, the sense of injustice overwhelmed us. Although some of us were leaving in a few weeks' time, we thought that fees which they were introducing at that time, ambazo zililetwa na hawa watu wanaitwa World Bank, were unfair. Na sasa unaona so many years later where those fees have left university funding. It's in a crisis. So my generation, which fought against those fees, was justified. We were right. You can look at the historical timeline 40 years later. You can see that those young people were right. And we were those young people. At that time, I was in my early 20s. Sasa unaona mahali ambapo umetufikisha. Sasa kumbe kule kwenye majeshi huko Kenya Air Force na wao pia walikuwa wanakerwa, ndipo haya mambo yakafanyika. Tunasema kwa Kiluya manandu amahua kano kehora.
Okay, well, of course now having whatever has happened, the Gen Zs, coming up, protesting and all that, and then later on we've seen the broad-based government. What is the future of Gen Zs in this country?
The future, first, the broad-based government is an illegality. Yeah, it's unconstitutional. The Constitution says nobody will form government in any other manner than as stated in this Constitution, and anyone who does that does something unlawful. And President Ruto and Mr. Raila Odinga have done an illegality. Hopefully that illegality will be undone by the courts, because we still have a very formidable judiciary. It's the last firewall that we have in the country's legal and justice system. What they have done is unlawful. They need to register their coalition, formalize it. I've given more than enough reasons why it is clear that Mr. Odinga and ODM are in government and they cannot be the minority in parliament. Unfortunately, we have people like Kalonzo Musyoka, who are basically lily-livered politicians. They are not able to stand firm. Even when you watch Kalonzo Musyoka speaking, you can see he does not speak with any fire in the belly. He is not persuaded at all.
He's not authoritative enough?
At all, not even enough, at all. Yeah? You can see that he just gabbles and mumbles words. It's what George Orwell would call dark speak. If you've read George Orwell's 1984, you hear of something called dark speak. You're just cackling things that you have not even processed in the mind. You cannot be as Azimio cavorting with ODM, and you're also saying they have joined the government and you are still receiving them in the Azimio space, which you are calling the opposition space, and you are calling yourself the leader. That is arrant nonsense. And Kalonzo Musyoka should quit that kind of arrant nonsense. He should decide, because Ruto's doors remain open. He should decide if he wants to be with Odinga and with Ruto and in government, to cross and go and join them. But if he doesn't want, then he should firmly stand on his feet in the opposition and say things that he believes in, initiate a process that will disgorge ODM from Azimio and say we are here as Azimio, or vacate Azimio, get Wiper out of Azimio, get his colleagues, Eugene Wamalwa, Jeremiah Kiani, Wanjigi, and the others, to do the honorable thing that Martha Karua has done, and then say we are now reconstituting ourselves as such and such an alliance, and we do not recognize the minority leadership of ODM in parliament, because ODM is already in government. Make that the beachhead from which they are going to engage against Raila Odinga and William Ruto. And by, because it's still early times, we still have 3 years to the voting day. It's a whole 3 years almost to the day from now. And within that space, they're going to have had a snowball effect, and they can hope to capture power through the ballot. You cannot be behaving almost like you are with Odinga, almost like you're not, almost you are looking for goodwill from Odinga, almost like you are condemning what he has done. What is that?
So as it is right now, you're saying that he's not in a position to assume the opposition leader.
He is in a position.
He is, yeah.
But he is losing the opportunity. And it's because he is basically a lily-livered politician. Lily-livered.
Okay. They used to call him watermelon.
Yes, that's what I mean by lily-livered.
Basically, that is exactly what you mean, watermelon.
Yeah. Yani hajui anataka nini. Katika siasa lazima uamue kile unachokitaka na ujitokeze na ukisimamie na ukitetee, kisha ukitetee kwa nguvu tu na ukitetee kwa maono, ukitetee kwa ari, ukitetee kwa msimamo. Lakini huwezi kuwa mara ni kama unataka hutaki, unataka ubembelezwe, uingie hapo hivyo.
Now saying that the coalition, the friendship, the partnership, the handshake, I don't know, the coalition itself is unconstitutional, does that mean that also the appointments, I mean the appointments we've had, like the ODM, some of the ODM leaders crossing over, saying that we've just borrowed, they came for the expertise, they wanted professionals, so we've just given the professionals.
No, this is not football where you can send players from Chelsea to Manchester United on loan. Yeah.
So basically, that is what ODM is saying.
That they have sent these people to Kenya Kwanza on loan.
Yeah. Kenya Kwanza did have professionals. So
no. We have got a constitution, and that constitution is sacrosanct. It informs us on how to form government. I heard John Mbadi of Finance on TV saying he's still a member of ODM. Yeah?
Yeah.
I saw him on TV a few days ago. And he is there. Again, I heard him say on TV, live television, that he does not know how President William Ruto and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga settled on him to be a minister, cabinet secretary for finance in this cabinet. So Odinga himself says, President Uhuru, and there have been voices that have said no, Uhuru did not. But Odinga says he spoke to Ruto and they agreed. And Ruto says they have discussed with Odinga and agreed. So these two political formations, which is Kenya Kwanza. Kenya Kwanza meaning UDA, Ford Kenya and all the other parties within that docket on the one hand, and ODM on the other hand, have come together and they have formed a government, and it is a coalition, and we have got the Political Parties Act that talks about how to form coalitions. We have got the Constitution that recognizes that we can form coalitions. So they should complete that process and let it be clear that they are in a formalized coalition to remove this illegality. The Constitution is not something to be just kicked about the place to satisfy the whims of a few individuals who imagine that they are powerful, because they are not powerful. You saw what the Gen Zs did to them the other day. So you have asked the question, what is the future, the destiny of the Gen Zs? What we are seeing today is the lull.
Before you go to the Gen Zs, the illegality aspect that you're talking about when it comes to this broad-based government, is it just the coalition itself, or is it the appointments as well?
It is all that rolled.
So like
rolled
the
into one.
The likes of Oparanya, Mbadi, and others, they are in the offices illegally. Is that what you're saying?
Provided that we understand that they have been seconded to this government by Raila Odinga, who is the leader of ODM, there's everything unlawful about the appointments. But they can be regularized through a proper admission of coalition documents to the registrar of political parties, who then gazettes that coalition. Otherwise, this is an illegality. And I have nothing against these people. For your information, Wycliffe Oparanya is my friend. My brother is home, is just my neighbor here. And we people of this place are happy that we have got Oparanya in the cabinet, because we believe around here that even in hell, you know hell, huko kwa shetani, we believe that even in hell, it is good to have your own person there. If you should happen to end up there, your person will tell you, Vayo hapo umeketi ni moto, songa huko kidogo. Yeah? So we are happy to have Oparanya there. It's not his mistake that this formation is illegal. The owners of the thing should legalize it, and I don't think that he had much choice to be there. Incidentally, he tried refusing. I'm aware. I'm aware that he had refused the appointment, and it took a lot of convincing. Yeah, eminent Luya personalities had to talk to him to tell him, chukua tu, hata kwa moto ya shetani ni vizuri tunakuwa na mtu wetu huko.
The future of Gen Z is now.
You know, let's stop talking about broad-based government.
It is there. That is exactly what is what they're selling to us.
What is the breadth? How broad is it? What's the breadth?
I mean, like the fact that they have brought the ODM factor in Kenya Kwanza government.
A like-minded government, a government of eaters, eating chiefs. Yeah.
You'll call it that?
It's what it is.
Okay.
You have not heard President Ruto saying we have baked a big cake which can be distributed around for more people. What do we do with the cakes? Do we just admire cake?
We take selfies.
Yeah? And take selfies with cake? Yeah?
Oh my God, we eat cakes.
We eat cake.
Yeah.
So, it's a government of eaters. Yeah? Upon their own admission, that it's about eating. Wamesema hii keki ni kubwa. And the president is on audiovisual record as saying that ni serikali ya walaji, watu wanaokula, lakini wanachokila ni sisi, wanatutafuna. Tunatafunwa mno. Sasa hii serikali ya utafunaji unaita broad based. There's no base that is broad. I cannot see the breadth. I can see just narrow focus. It's a very narrow based government, and the narrow focus is about looting the coffers. It's about splurging the resources, wastefulness. Hii kutambaa, mnatambaa kila mahali mnaenda. Rais anafanya kazi saa ngapi? When you are president, you sit down in State House. You sit down on Harambe Avenue and process affairs of state. You sit down and listen. You sit down and read. You sit down and digest. You sit down and process. You sit down and make decisions. You sit down and govern when you are the president. But if you are just gallivanting all over the place, asking people whether they will vote for you in 2027, you are a panicky leader who has no focus, who does not even start understanding why you are elected, what you are supposed to be doing there. You are not elected so that you should be permanently on a campaign trail and permanently shifting the chessmen on the political chessboard to see which combination is going to give you sustained presence in that position. That is where the country is. And because the country is there and the Gen Zs remain unemployed, they remain without hope, they remain without jobs, the Gen Zs will be coming back before 2027. The Gen Zs will come back several times. And this time round, when the Gen Zs come back, power, beware. They will run through you like a hot knife in butter.
So they are still coming back.
They will come back, and the whole country together with them.
With this, I don't know, you said narrow-based government. With this narrow-based government that you say,
the focus is narrow. So it's a narrow-based government.
Okay, with this narrow-based government that you say, of course now, most of the time, like since time in Memorial, we've seen Raila Odinga when he comes in the government. We saw the handshake between him and Moi. We saw the handshake with Kibaki, Uhuru Kenyatta, and now right now. Most of the time when he comes, it is like anakuja kutifua kivumbi, and it's like things are not like, as usual. The marriage kinda kitumbua kinaingia mchanga.
With Raila, or just the recent one, Uhuru Kenyatta and
the then DP now president William Ruto, is like when Raila Odinga came in, things went haywire. Right now, with the narrow-based government that you say, the broad-based government they say, what is the future of Gachagua? And probably also Musalia Mudavadi, where does he stand in this government?
The marbles are still rolling. They haven't settled. But even as I see the marbles rolling, I see every effort to alienate Rigathi Gachagua from the formation. And part of it is of his own making. He didn't pick up any lessons from Ruto and Uhuru. he arrived and continued behaving the same way Ruto had behaved, as if he was another center of power in government, only that Ruto was a little more guarded than himself, because Ruto never claimed any shares in the Uhuru government. Gachagua has done so and made the plot quite thick for himself. He's going to be fought very, very, very hard. Ruto has unleashed, Comrade Napoleon in Animal Farm comes with his dogs and unleashes them, and a snowball is chased out of the farm, and anyone else who is dissenting has got to contend with Napoleon's dogs. Napoleon has unleashed his dogs against Snowball in the mountain, and Mr. Gachagua is going to face more and more of that music. The quest within ODM Kenya Kwanza is to have somebody else as the Ruto running mate. Mudavadi would ordinarily be a preferred running mate for Ruto, assuming that he had a hold on the Luhya people, but he doesn't have. He's my friend, Now, friendship is different from these things that we are discussing here. So there's no animus between Musalia Mudavadi and I. He's my friend. If we meet, we will have a cup of tea. We could even do so on appointment, not just upon running into each other. Because he's my friend, I also owe him the truth. And the truth is that he has no hold on the Luhya. He can't rally them. We tried to help him to rally them the last time, and we were able to manage only a very small fraction. And it's because he's aloof. We tell him, go and mingle with the Luhya people. Go and see them. Go and talk to them. Make them feel you. He doesn't do that. He comes to Luhya land when there's a high-profile funeral that he must attend. Then he'll make a few discordant, random pronouncements there and go away until either when there's another eminent person's funeral or when William Ruto is visiting the region. And earlier on, when he was friends with Odinga political allies, he would come when Odinga is coming, but never on his own to hear that Mudavadi has put together a rally. He's bringing the Luhya people together in Bokongo and addressing them, or in Masinde Muriro, in Bungoma, or in Kakamega. No, so he doesn't have grip on the people. And there are emerging now new youthful generations that are not even interested in the history of Mudavadi or the Mudavadi family, that his father was this, his father was that. There are new generations that know about the pulsating problems and challenges of the day, and they want to see people who are addressing them. And when that reality dawns upon William Ruto, he is likely to drop Musalia Mudavadi like a hot brick and attempt to find out whether there are other influence mongers within the Luhya community.
So,
who else?
So then will that be Papa Waroma?
Papa Waroma has no grip on the Abaluya people. He has 6 members of parliament. Mudavadi has 8. Papa Roma has 6. And you can say that, oh, Bungoma voted for Ruto. Part of that was direct, because even in 2017, part of Bungoma voted for Jubilee and Ruto. And 2013, it was the same. Yeah. So the Luhya terrain has got tectonic plates that are still shifting. They're waiting to settle. And the Luhya nation is throbbing with absence of clearly defined visionary leadership. The political maestros that we have in Luhya land today are self-focused, internally ingesting individuals who, once they have filled themselves with the victuals, the viands, with the food, they cause no trouble. I've seen some young people cheekily say, hawa wanaitwa akishiba hasumbui. Akishiba hasumbui. Na wewe ukiwa aina ile ambayo akishiba hasumbui, you cannot lead people, because these people are hungry. They want opportunities. They don't want handouts. They want opportunities to look after themselves. And both Sadia Mudavadi and Papa Roma, Moses Masikawe Tangula, who are my friends, have failed the Luhya people.
So do you foresee like a serious coalition that will be a strong one
ahead of 2027, probably Kenya Kwanza and ODM?
ODM is still too early in the day. First, I think in the order of probability, the chances are 7-3 that Raila Odinga will be coming back next year, into the politics of the country actively. After this, if he doesn't win, you see, Raila Odinga has a very good chance to win, and he also has a very good chance to lose. So if the good chance to lose is what happens, he'll go to America for a few days or take a cruise ship and just see the world for about 3 months. Then somewhere, wherever the ship docks, in Jamaica, in Barbados, he will catch a flight back to Nairobi via wherever. And when he gets here, he will come into a grand reception, and reggae will begin. And Ruto will understand that there's no alliance between him and Raila Odinga.
By any chance, do you think, like, I don't know who is pushing for the coalition, or rather who came up with
the issue of the broad-based government, like ODM coming to work with Kenya Kwanza. But do you think it is also a strategy probably to kill ODM, Ruto's strategy to kill ODM, because it's been, the main opposition for him?
ODM can't die, at least not for the time being. And you can see that's why they are trying to be both in government and in the opposition. But they are making a mistake. They should just accept to go into a coalition with Ruto. They don't have to dissolve their party. They will stay with Ruto. And when Odinga comes back from Addis Ababa, they can start planning their exit, which I think is what they will do. And as they exit, they will say things like, We loaned some of our star players to this man. We gave him Oparanya, we gave him Wandai, we gave him our finance Wizkid, John Badi, we gave him Joho, the Sultan himself. But this man cannot be helped. It's beyond repair, so we have abandoned him. We are going to go our own course. Yeah. Those are things that I see happening the coming days.
Recently, we've seen, Gachagua gaining traction, especially
in Nyanza. Most of the time, like in most of the stopovers, people will celebrate him. I mean, like, why do you think like there's a sort of change? Because since he's been, poking hands, pointing fingers and, criticizing Raila Odinga all the time. So people expected otherwise, but now they're seeing something very different.
I think that will not last. The political dynamics, the real competitive moments will come. And all this dancing around, Millie Odhiambo, the Luo people who live across, across the road here, you're already in Luo land. They'll wake up to certain realities, particularly after Raila comes back, because Raila Odinga will come back. And listen to his words very carefully. He says, I'm not going to be very active on the political scene in the country. I'm not going to be very active. It means he's going to remain active, but not very active or very visible. Yeah? And when he comes back, and it's time for them to tell Ruto goodbye, and Ruto will be wondering what hit him, because he will want to have back Mount Kenya, and the mountain will probably be gone because he has not treated it very well. And if you are here, Violet, you are here in Western, you hear what the people say. Yeah? One day I wrote an article in the Standard newspaper titled, Mr. President, this is what the people are saying. And Ruto thought it was a joke until he saw the Gen Zs. If you just walk around in the villages here and in our towns here in Western and listen to what the people are saying. And the people are saying they don't believe in this coalition of Odinga and Ruto.
it's cosmetic.
They see it is treachery, it is cosmetic, they say it's a conspiracy, and they are waiting for the moment when someone is going to show them a path and a route they can believe in. And that day will come. Hizi vitu watu wanarukaruka hapa hazitaenda mahali popote. Oparanya alimwambia Ruto hapa hivi, Mr. President, I'm happy you have appointed me. I hope you will not tie my hands. I hope you will give me the opportunity to work and to support you. That is the most pithy pronouncement that Oparanya has made since the appointment. Ruto is not the kind of person who is used to allowing people to work. He wants to be the president, to be the minister, to be the PS, to be the director, to be the secretary of administration, to be everything, to be the advisor, and to advise you how to advise him. And all these things are going to roll into one ball. And that ball will see itself bouncing away from President William Ruto ahead of the next election. He had better get his fellows, the Eliud Owalos of this world together, because he will need them again. And I think he knows that.
Well, then last but not least, on my end, I wanted to know, Just the other day, President William Ruto, when he came to Malava, he said he actually insinuated that there is a probability. There is.
He sort of intimated that there's a probability that they will bring back the 2024 finance bill. Controversial one that, of course, led to the
The protest, the Gen Z protest. Bringing it back, probably with amendments or no amendments, what will that mean to, the struggle and the push that the Gen Zs have been pushing?
Is certainly being pushed by external forces, external powers. We saw the American ambassador, Meg Whitman, on TV recently, bemoaning the demise of the 2024 bill and suggesting that there's need for it to come back. We know that the IMF, the World Bank, and other Western interests would like that to come back. They may not call it what they call it, but their own William Shakespeare told us many years ago that that which we call a rose, by any other name, it will smell as sweet. Yeah? So the finance bill, by any other name, the finance bill 2024 will be finance bill 2024. The Gen Zs will be on the lookout. They now even know which specific articles or clauses they will be looking for, and it doesn't matter even if you redistribute them around. It will just take them a few seconds technologically to know that these are the ones, and they have brought them back. And now with things like machine learning, artificial intelligence, within a few minutes you can actually translate the whole finance bill into all the Kenyan languages and distribute them to the Kenyan people wherever they may be. You can even abridge it, simplify it, so that people don't need to be very sophisticated to read and understand it. And we will be right back where we were in June, July this year.
Wow. Okay, your parting shot as we end.
Do I have a parting shot? Well, the parting shot is that Kenyans must be eternally vigilant. Trust the political elite at your own risk and peril. The ones we are seeing today preaching about unity are basically preaching conspiracy of the political elite against the people, because unity is as good as the purpose for which people unite. And in this context, the unity has been partly to derail the Gen Z uprising, and partly therefore to sustain the status quo. And people will need to be very vigilant. When you have looked at the Kenyan political leadership in its entirety, you can only draw one conclusion: that we need to reset to the restoration of factory settings.
Restore factory settings as a country.
Yes.
Wow. So that is it for today. Till next time, kwaherini.